Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking through some player props I like on Prizepicks for today's NBA slate on Tuesday, May the 6th. We got two games on Tuesday night. We got game two of the Cavs and Pacers series. Some big injury news in that game. We'll talk about that. Evan Mobley questionable, DeAndre Hunter questionable. So that'll definitely impact some things. We'll see how those injuries play out. And then we have a new series kicking off Tuesday night. We got game one of Warriors and Timberwolves. So a two-game slate, guys, and I've got some early player props that I do like for these two games on Tuesday night. We are going to give out a prop from each game. So we'll discuss a prop that I like in the Pacers-Cavs game, and then we'll go over to Minnesota-Golden State, talk about a prop that I like in that game. But before we do get started, guys, make sure that you hit that like button down below. If you do enjoy these Prizepicks videos, hit that subscribe button as well. And if you guys are new to the channel, and if you are new to Prizepicks, if you don't have a Prizepicks account, sign up, use promo code NOAH. When you guys sign up for Prizepicks with my promo code and place your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in promo funds instantly added to your account. So this is an easy way to start to get your bankroll built up on Prizepicks. Use that code NOAH when you do sign up. And I do also want to give a quick shout out to Sleeper because we do have a partnership with Sleeper as well. You guys can use promo code NOAH when you sign up for Sleeper, and you get your first deposit matched up to $100. So whatever you put in on your first deposit, Sleeper will match that up to $100. You put in 50, they'll give you an additional 50. You put in 100, they'll give you an additional 100. So this is another way to kind of start to build your bankroll up on Sleeper. Use the funds they give you when you make that deposit to hopefully win some money, start to build up that bankroll. And for those of you that don't know what Sleeper is, they're just a DFS pick'em app, very similar to Prizepicks, where you pick more or less on player projections and you build out your lineup. You can do multi-sport lineups on Sleeper. You can also use their promotions, their discounts they do throughout the week. They're always doing discounts pretty much every single day. They have discounts on player props. They have payout boosts that they do. They'll sometimes give protected plays as well. So a lot of promotions, discounts over on Sleeper all throughout the weeks. You guys should definitely check them out. And again, if you do sign up for Sleeper, use that promo code NOAH when you sign up. But yeah, guys, before we talk through our props for Tuesday, I do want to recap our plays from Monday. So at the time I'm recording this video, Monday night, the Celtics and Celtics-Knicks game just went to overtime. We took Josh Hart over 32 fantasy score in that game, which cashed relatively easily. Hart cashed like early in the fourth quarter. But we're waiting on Isaiah Hartenstein over 26 fantasy score. That was the other play that we took. At the time I'm recording this video, that game has not started yet. So don't really know yet if Hartenstein hits. We'll see. But Hart went over, waiting on Hartenstein. We got some really good value on that Hartenstein prop. I think his line got bumped up to 29. I checked it like right before the game started. His line was at 29. We got his line at 26. So we got some really good CLV. With my luck, I get really good CLV on a prop and it still loses. That's just my luck. I can't tell you how many times it happens, but yeah, we'll see if Hartenstein can go over. Hopefully he can, and we can get a 2-0 sweep on Monday. But let's go ahead and break down these props that I like for Tuesday, and we're going to talk about some fantasy score props once again. So the first prop that I like in the Cavs and Pacers game is going to be Pascal Siakam for more than 32.5 fantasy score. So Siakam did go over this line in game one of the series. He barely went over. He had 33.6 fantasy score in that game. Did play relatively good minutes. He played 34 minutes in that game. Was not quite the minutes that I would have expected for Siakam. Typically in the playoffs, I would expect Siakam to play like 35, 36 minutes. Rick Carlisle is a coach. He does kind of run a deeper rotation. He's not one of these coaches like we do see some coaches really tighten up their rotation in the playoffs. They're playing, some coaches play their starters like 40 plus minutes. Rick Carlisle, not that type of guy, but maybe as this series progresses, as we get deeper into the series, he might start to really tighten up his rotation. The Pacers, they took game one of this series, which I think really nobody expected. And coming into this game, they're big underdogs. We'll see if they can get another win here. But I think we're going to get most nights 35 to 36 minutes from Pascal Siakam. And this is a player who throughout his career has averaged well over a fantasy point per minute. He's typically been a guy that can give you at least a fantasy point per minute, if not more than that. I know the matchup here against Cleveland on paper is not the best, but as we said at the beginning of the video, Cleveland is dealing with some injuries. Evan Mobley listed as questionable for this game. DeAndre Hunter listed as questionable as well. The big one is Mobley because Mobley is likely going to be the guy that guards Siakam, if he were to play. So there's definitely a chance that we see Siakam's matchup get a lot better here if Mobley is out. Even if Mobley plays, he might not be 100%. I think Mobley is dealing with an ankle injury. So like maybe he's not as effective if he does play. So I think this matchup for Siakam definitely is fine, and I think it could even get better if Evan Mobley doesn't play. But if we're going to get 35 to 36 minutes from Siakam, I think we got a pretty good chance at 32.5 fantasy score. Again, this is a player that throughout his career has averaged well over a fantasy point per minute when he's been on the floor. So far this season versus the Cavs, he's been pretty decent. One game against Cleveland, he played the Cleveland 3 times in the regular season. In those 3 games, he had 39.8, 39.4, and 23.6 fantasy score. So he went over this line in 2 out of 3 games versus Cleveland during the regular season. Obviously went over in game 1 of this series. In the Milwaukee series, he was pretty decent. Siakam was. He went over this line in 3 out of 5 games against Milwaukee. One of the games he went under, he only played 29 minutes, I think, because of some foul trouble. As long as Siakam avoids fouls, again, I think we're getting like mid to high 30s minutes from him. I think the matchup here could get better if Evan Mobley's out. Do like Siakam for more than 32.5 fantasy score. And if you're looking for an alternative prop to fantasy score, I think the next prop that I would take for those of you that maybe can't take fantasy score, I do like Siakam for more than 19 points. Would think if he goes over fantasy score, he probably goes over points as well. As you can see, he's gone over this fantasy score line in 3 of his last 5 games. His points prop, he's gone over that in 2 of his last 5 games. So like last game, he only had 17 points, but he still went over fantasy score. So that's kind of why I like fantasy score a little bit more for Siakam, but I know not everyone has access to fantasy score. So if you can't take the fantasy score on Siakam, I like more than 19 points, maybe for for those of you that are like playing on a sports book or something. But then the other prop that I like that we're going to talk about in the Warriors and Timberwolves game is going to be Brandon Podziemski for more than 23.5 fantasy score. Now, I took this prop last game against Houston at the exact same line, and Pods did go under this line. He had 16.6 fantasy score. His Pods projections were kind of lower than they normally were last game because we did see in game 6 of the Houston series, they did bring Pods off the bench. Now, he still played well off the bench, and he still played a decent amount of minutes, but they did bring him off the bench in game 6. They started Gary Payton over Pods in game 6 versus Houston, but Pods still played 29 minutes off the bench, had 23.9 fantasy score. Last game, Gary Payton got a late scratch with an illness. He got ruled out early in the day with an illness, which moved Pods into the starting lineup. I think Pods probably would have started even if Gary Payton played. I mean, Gary Payton, even in the game that he started against Houston in game 6, he only played like 20 minutes, and he wasn't like super effective. I think we're going to see Pods in the starting lineup again. There's a possibility he comes off the bench, but even if he comes off the bench, he's probably still going to play 28 to 30 minutes, and if he's starting again, he's probably playing like 35 to 36 minutes. Last game, he started and played 40 minutes. Now, obviously, last game was a must-win game, game 7, so the Warriors really ran up the minutes on their guys. I don't think we're going to get 40 minutes again from Pods, but I think mid to high 30s is pretty likely if he is starting again. And even if he comes off the bench, this is still a prop that I like on Pods. Pods throughout his career, he's been a guy that has shown an ability to be productive when he gets minutes. He's a guy that can score. Last game, he shot the ball terribly, so that was one of the reasons why he went under his fantasy score line. I mean, he played 40 minutes and only had 16 fantasy points, but he shot 4 for 12 and 1 for 7 from 3. I pretty much watched that whole game. He was just missing a bunch of wide open threes that he normally would make. He just shot the ball terribly last game, but this is a player that can score. He can rebound really well. He's a guard that does rebound really well. They also let him handle the ball a little bit too, so he can facilitate. And if we think about this matchup against Minnesota, this is probably going to be a tough series for Steph Curry. Going to be guarded by Anthony Edwards or Jaden McDaniels, most likely 2 good defenders. And then Jimmy Butler, if Ant guards Steph, or Jaden McDaniels, if Jaden McDaniels guards Steph, that's going to put Ant on Jimmy Butler. I think it's going to be a tougher matchup for those guys. We're likely going to see Minnesota hide Mike Conley on Brandon Podziemski. Conley, obviously the weakest defender in that Minnesota lineup. So I think the matchup actually sets up kind of decent here for Pods. I don't think he's going to get a lot of defensive attention from this Minnesota team. And Pods, again, he's a guy that can make shots when he's left open. Obviously, last game, that wasn't the case because he was missing a bunch of wide open shots. But he's a player that can be productive when he gets minutes. This season, he's averaged close to a fantasy point per minute. Last season, he averaged about 0.8, like 0.85 fantasy points per minute. Just a player that I would normally expect to go over 23.5 fantasy score when he typically, when he plays like 30 minutes, which if he comes off the bench, I think he plays like 28 to 30 minutes. If he starts again, I think he plays 34, 35 minutes. Like this play a lot on Pods. It didn't work out for me last game, but I'm going back to the well on Pods here. Just think these lines are a little bit too low for him, especially this fantasy score line. A little bit too low if we assume he's starting and playing mid, to upper 30s in minutes. So That's what I'm liking, guys, is our 2 props for Tuesday. We're going to take Pascal Siakam for more than 32.5 fantasy score and Brandon Prizepicks for more than 23.5 fantasy score. Now, if you're looking for a prop on Prizepicks that isn't fantasy score, so if you're on a sports book and you need a prop that you could take besides fantasy score, I think the prop that I would take would be his over on points plus assists, which is at 15.5, or it's at 15. So that would probably be the play that I would take on Pods if you aren't able to take fantasy score. But I think I like the fantasy score a little bit more just because Pods is a guy that can also get rebounds. He can sometimes get defensive stats. You look, he's gone over this fantasy score line in 2 of his last 5 games. He's gone over PA in only 1 of his last 5. Like, I think it was this game he went over fantasy but not PA. But I do like the PA 15. Again, he's a guy that can knock down shots when he's left open. They'll let him handle the ball as well, especially when Steph Curry's off the floor. Like, Pods will do a lot of ball handling. So he has assist potential here, too. I think his assist numbers were pretty solid in the Houston series. I would expect that to carry over into the Minnesota series. But yeah, that's the alternative prop I like on Pods besides fantasy. But yeah, guys, 2 plays for Tuesday. 2 plays for Tuesday. Let's see if we can go 2-0 here. Make some money on this slate. As always, I do appreciate you guys watching these Prizepicks videos, supporting the content that I do put out here on YouTube. If you guys enjoy these videos, just hit that like button down below for me. Hit that subscribe button as well. And make sure to go sign up for Prizepicks. Use that promo code NOAH when you do sign up for Prizepicks. And again, when you play $5, you're going to get $50 instantly added to your account over on Prizepicks when you use that code NOAH. But good luck tonight, guys. Let's win some money, and I'll see you guys in the next video.